let's start. How are you today? Good. How was the weekend? Seems like you feel sorry you are coming on Saturday. Did you enjoy your weekend? No? Why?
We have so much assignments. Assignments, and research papers, and presentations, and quizzes, and Quran.
Wow. You are busy. Okay, it's a month and everything will be over, I think. And it's the time, this pressure is good. Students always suffer from this stress, but if they manage their time, I think they will survive. Good. As you see, today we're going to continue the Daffodils. Last time Ola gave a wonderful presentation. Today we want to bridge the gaps, to fill in some gaps. After that we are going. I'm going to show you a sample of a model answer to the exam question. How you should deal with the exam question, because most of you didn't do well in that question. You kept talking about the poem. You kept talking about the figures of speech without having a rationale, without having a good introduction. So I'm showing you a model, which is like a modest model, and I hope it will be useful to you. Okay? But before we start, I need somebody to come and report. Yes? Yes? Just come here.
My daily report. Honestly, I didn't know what to say according to last lecture. I enjoyed the first part of the Wednesday lecture, in which Dr.أكرم listened to a couple of reports as usual, and to a response of Williams' Wordsworth poem. However, I became confused in the second part, since the student did a presentation, which is a wonderful presentation for the poem, and I'm afraid to say that the student missed the map of her flash, and became some bits
irritable.
Yes. Confused. I hope that.
Why are you shivering? You have a nice report.
I hope that on Saturday Dr. Akram re-explained the poem in more details.
Okay, thank you. And this is what we are doing today. Good. Yes? No, yes, you. Yes? What's your name? I forgot.
My report is short.
It's no problem. It's laconic, yeah?
Yeah. Good morning. Last lecture I did not attend because in the same time I had a Quran test. Some girls told me that a girl explained the daffodil with a presentation. Actually, I was surprised because Dr. Akram did not ask us to make any presentations. I really missed my poetry class. I hope never miss it again in my life because it's very fun and I really love it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, in fact, it's difficult, in this class, to give a presentation, but if you volunteer, I don't mind, as we said. You see, the topic is a little bit, and in other courses, I'm usually giving presentation mainly in literary criticism to an American lit. Here, we're satisfied with your reports, response, because here when you are reporting, you're presenting your ideas, in fact. Anyway, today, as I said, we're going to continue the Daffodils. It was interesting, this is general information, biography about it. You are familiar with this. Ola did it very well last time. And this the beginning of the poem. I like this cloud, you see? But as you see, the cloud here has this contradictory aspect as it is in the poem. Because last time, Some of you said that the cloud was negative. Others said it was positive. It was positive because of the potential rain. It was negative because it was lonely, floating without a sense of direction. But can we apply this to the poet? In what sense it is positive when it is related to the poet? Okay? Yes, very good. Because the poet is creative. The poet, is imaginative. So yes, the poet has the potential of creating because he is imaginative. So he's like a cloud which is pregnant, which is, full of hope and potentialities. Good. That floats on highs over vales and hills. So here he compares himself to the cloud, which goes without a purpose. So here, as we said at the beginning of the poem, we have a sense of loneliness. And loneliness, it is a negative feeling, A sense of dislocation. He feels that he belongs to nowhere. He is floating lonely. Lack of orientation. No purpose. He's wandering. Look at the, wander. To wander, like just to roam, to go to and fro without any purpose. So here, wandering, lonely, and floating. All these are negatives. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So this is what interrupted his wandering. He saw a crowd. Like, if you look at the crowd, it contradicts with, man being alone. Crowd, group. See? Crowd, like you have a sense of group. And this shows how nature, if you remember when Ms. Ahlam talked about nature, like nature was, a teacher, was a nurse, was a mother. Here, nature is seen as a source of security. If you're looking at the daffodils here represent nature. And nature here gives this sense of security. Why? Because it is crowd. And then a host of golden daffodils. Look here. In fact here we're talking about primary imagination, because at this stage the poet, only sees the daffodils. But look here, even though it is primary imagination, which is common among people, yet the poet magnifies the primary imagination, magnifies the image. So they are a crowd and they are a host of golden daffodils. What do you think of the host? Does it have a positive or negative connotation? Huh? Host. Positive. What does the host stand for?
Unity.
Huh?
Unity.
Unity. Host and hostess. Generosity. Hospitality. Like a host, when you are hosting somebody, so you expect to be kind, you're expected to be hospitable. You see, when you're inviting some people, you see, you are hospitable, you are generous, you are very kind, you want to offer all what you have. So I think, yes, a host and then golden daffodils. Look here how the perception of the daffodil develops emotionally. So the poet, as you see, is invoked emotionally. This is an example of a daffodil. Look, it is golden. Nobody is observing like the color. Here they are painted. Beside the lake, beneath the trees. As you see, they are everywhere. Okay? You'll see them beside the lake, beneath the breeze. They are everywhere. And we said in other classes that in this poem, Wordsworth is celebrating himself and he's celebrating nature. He's celebrating himself for being, creative, for being a man of imagination, and he's celebrating nature for being, many things, for being beautiful, for being a source of happiness, for being immortal. As you see, beneath the lake, beneath the trees, they are everywhere. They are ubiquitous. Ubiquitous, they are everywhere. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So they are not passive, but they are active, fluttering. There is a movement. And this movement, later we'll discover, it is not just the movement because of the wind or the lake, but it is movement because of its relation to a cosmic, movement, to the movement of the earth and the galaxy itself. And this is what makes nature here is very, very immortal. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars they shine. Again here, he's celebrating nature. He's celebrating the daffodils. He's celebrating nature. Continuous. What does it mean, continuous? What is the difference between continuous and continual? Continuous and continual. We eat continuously or continually?
Continuously.
If we eat continuously, we explode in an hour. If we eat continuously like this. But continually, we eat, we eat in the morning, then we stop. So, continuous here means, and again, this is, another aspect in nature he is celebrating. He's celebrating its permanence, its continuity. Continuous. This is what made Wordsworth, celebrate the rainbow. Why? Because it was continuous. Continuous as the stars that shine. Where? In the Milky Way. Look at them, the stars. And twinkle on the Milky Way. So here, see how the beauty of the daffodils, it links heaven and earth. And twinkle on the Milky Way. It's an image of the Milky Way, which, has millions of suns and stars. And this shows the miracle of creation itself. They stretch a never-ending line. This is very romantic. He's celebrating nature because nature has no ending. The Romantics always cherished nature. Why? Because it has no ending. It was permanent. They stretch in never ending. I would imagine, if you want to read it, they stretch in never ending. A sense of admiration. Along the margin of the bay, again they are everywhere. This is the bay, the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at once. This is the turning, or this is the line which has the turning point in the poem. Why?
That he saw 10,000 at a glance, his super sensibility, that we wouldn't notice it all the 1,001 glance.
Yes.
And he saw it.
He saw 10,000 at a glance. What glance is he talking about? Is it the glance of seeing? I saw. Is it I saw?
Yeah.
What kind of vision which would see, or what kind of eyesight which would see 10,000 at a glance? So we are taking about the inward, about the imagination. So look here, what is happening here? The I, the lonely I, is withdrawing. And we have now the eye of imagination, the internal eye. 10,000 saw I at one glance. So the inversion here shows how imagination has become very powerful. So man is rich. Is rich with what? With imagination. 10,000 saw I at a glance. Look, if we bring a camera like this, we say, wow, this camera, it has a big, focus, it has, this and that. But look at us, 10,000 saw I at a glance. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance. It's this harmony between man and nature. The harmony in nature itself also is something to be celebrated. The waves beside them dance, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Here, it is like competition between, in nature, in the harmony of nature, in the beauty. So they are there, reflected in the lake, but the real one are more beautiful than the reflection. It's an amazing scene. I wish one day you would be there. In fact, I had, the pleasure and the honor to go to that place and to see that place and like to be in the lake itself. Yes, it was very fantastic, very beautiful. And in fact, Wordsworth house is overlooking the coach, the Dove cottage is overlooking, and he was putting the couch outside, watching the lake, watching the daffodils. It was a wonderful scene. Outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay. This is again the most difficult line. And look at the grammar. The poet could not but be gay. Who can translate this into Arabic? Who can translate this into Arabic? A poet could not but be gay. Who can translate this into Arabic? Yes, Jihan?
لا يسعى الشاعر إلا أن يكون سعيدا.
إلا أن يكون مبتهجا. لا يسعى الشاعر إلا أن يكون مبتهجا. And it's difficult even in Arabic. A poet could not but be gay. Why? Why a poet? Why not a man?
Because he is have a feeling.
Yeah, because a poet is distinguished. Distinguished for what? For his imagination. And these are the ingredients of creativity. So here, the daffodils, this scene of harmony, this scene of happiness is what? This scene represents the ingredients of creativity. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. It's a very joyful company. In such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought. This contradicts with wondering. I gazed and gazed, but little thought. Little, worrying about little loneliness. No loneliness. Little thought. No more concerns. So this is the value of the romantic experience. It obliterates the sense of loneliness. I gazed and gazed, but little thought. So it's imagination. What wealth the show to me had brought. What wealth? The show to me was, a source of richness. Why? Why do you think it was a source of richness? Because it is an experience which is stored in the mind, which is going to be recreated and reconstructed by the poet's imagination. So it is wealth. And here he's answering for off, because for off, it is wealth. Why? Because when later on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, when I'm again sick, when I'm again lonely, and I don't go outside to see the daffodils, these daffodils revisit. Why? Because they are in my mind and heart. They are stored. They are rearranged, reconstructed by my own imagination. So here, look here, we are not talking about nature as being like, as we said, nature in itself doing this to man. It is man give and take. He's giving imagination and he's taking the beauty and reconstructing the beauty. So there is interaction between man and nature. It is not one way. For off when in my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, what happens? They flash upon the inward eye. They flash. Look here, everything is becoming internal. These daffodils flash upon the inward eye. Inward eye, the imagination, which is the bliss. This is the eye of imagination. It's funny, huh? Which is the bliss of solitude. The imagination is the blessing of solitude. Because in solitude, imagination is active. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. This heart was dancing, you know, and dances with the daffodils. So where is the eye? Is the eye, the lonely eye disappeared, and now the eye is merging with nature, is part of nature. Okay? Now in a very quick way, you see it is a movement, it is an experience of happiness, it is an experience of recreation, and man is not passive. Man has something to do with nature. I want you to listen to the, let's see, I'm not sure like whether you got this song or not. funny, huh? Okay. So now I know I'm just racing with time because I need to go and yes, as you see, this extract is quoted from Henry Howard's sonnet, Description of Spring, where everything changes save the lover. It's the title, it's, the extract. This is part of the context. Henry Howard's Earl of Surrey was an English poet who further modulated the sonnet, because we are talking about Sir Thomas Wyatt. He, also, modulated the sonnet. It's little bit, not talking much about him. To make it fit with courtly love, because courtly love is a theme which they wrote about, a very traditional English theme. Howard's sonnet, Description of Spring, is no exception, because in this sonnet he was playing with the form. This given extract is part of an argument, and this is the most important thing, in which the poet wants to assert his manhood, because it's courtly love, at the expense of unidentified, she's not known, we don't know her name, yet very cruel and indifferent mistress. However, Howard, who is known for his nobility, was not blunt in doing so. He didn't, do it in a very blunt way. He didn't criticize her. He was very polite. Okay? He didn't do it in a blunt way. Sorry. He euphemistically, because he was euphemistic, as we said, and in a very unique device called juxtaposition, was able to get our sympathy and, in a sense, our admiration and veneration. And this is what is happening at the end of the poem. This juxtaposition has spawned, generated unique situational irony. Like few people talk about the irony, because it is there, where everything in the external world is changing to the better, except the poet's situation, which gets worse and worse. This is, the introduction. You have lines of ideas I'm going to discuss. As hinted above, the given extract represents, now I'm talking about the extract, I'm not talking about the poem, represents an extension of a vivid description. It is a continuation of a vivid description of the outside in order to be ironically juxtaposed by the inside. In the first and the second quatrain, Howard depicted a lovely picture of rebirth and regeneration after the advent of spring. In this extract, the poet further demonstrates the procreative, the active, the creative urge of spring. The fayid, like the urge, the life itself, the motive of life. This is affected by a series, this is achieved by a series of metaphors and personifications. I don't have to say this is a metaphor, this is a personification, just like you mention them quickly. As in the other, her slough away she slings, the busy bee mingling her honey, and winter is warm. This is further augmented by the sense of vitality induced by the image of the swift, because we have an image of the swift swallow pursuing the fly. It is, as we said, it is a kinetic image, it is, a movement image. The alliteration of a swift swallow and busy bee, along with the onomatopoeia in busy bee, imbues, decorates the whole atmosphere with a sense of vitality and festivity. It's like happiness. Indeed, such a vivid description, which is depicted in this extract, is a culmination of the renewal. It is the top of the renewal. and regeneration in the natural world. Unfortunately, it's the idea, like now I have to talk about the poet. Unfortunately, the change in the external world was not to include the poet. It's a spelling mistake, but I corrected it. And in a very ironic way, the poet's situation aggravates so much to the extent that he succeeds in getting our compassion and sympathy. In this sense, the final couplet has come to sharply deviate from the norm established, because everything was changing. Established in the whole poem, the normal expectation was the agonizing experience of the court lover would terminate, as was the case with the other living things. This is what everybody expected. Yet the poet's situation seems to be otherwise. With a heavy sense of increasing pain, the court lover complains in the final couplet, and thus I see among these things each care decays and my sorrow springs. Here the poet surprises us by the paradox with which in its turns evokes a situational irony, where we see the disparity between the external word and the internal word of the poet. It is then we feel that this sense of sorrow is so deep that the poet heaves out, sighs his excessive suffering when he poses in the middle of the final. This caesura, and we talked about the caesura, we talked about the pose. This caesura, nobody talked about the caesura. It is there. Is enough indication of the poet's ability of endurance and perseverance. It is then we realize the reason behind this suffering. It is the unfaithful and fickle mistress. Hence we start admiring the poet, and in the meantime we denounce the lady. In this sense, we can definitely assert that the poet has successfully made a statement about his own nobility and sincerity. And in the meantime, this is like courtly love, it's exercise in masculinity. And in the meantime, made us denounce the woman for her cruelty and infidelity. It is not surprising, though, that the whole theme of the poem is revealed in the final couplet of the poem. It seems here that Howard is paving the way for Shakespeare, who was the master of resolving any conflict or dilemma in the couplet. To conclude, in this extract, a vivid image of renewal is intensified, and conversely, the poet's situation worsens due to the ungrateful lady who seems unwilling to reciprocate the poet's feelings of love. All of this was done in a very poetic style, where the poet employed several tropes, imagery, and internal rhyme. Verily, the couplet made us cry and say, there is no justice in the world. I know the style is a little bit high style, but you can also write in your style. But here you see it is concentrated. I'm not concentrating on the whole poem. I'm not losing. I'm just like looking at the extract. And I'm following a sequence of ideas. All the time I have been hesitant to write, model answers, because it seems to be intimidating. You say, can I write like this? You can write better. I want to say you can write better. I enjoy, some of you wrote very well, but you can do the same in a less rhetorical style. You can do it. It's a model. I want you to look at it and to follow such a model in your final exam. Okay? Any question? Any concern? Thank you very much for being a good audience today.